Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to my channel where I'm making stuff and sharing how I do it. And in this video, I'm going to be working on another duvet upcycle project. So several months ago, our dog ripped a big hole in our duvet cover, and I've been slowly upcycling it into different things since. I've made a dress, a pair of shorts, my ironing board cover, some ruffle pillows, and some bias binding. I still have quite a bit of this fabric from the cover left. So my idea for this video is to make a gathered skirt. So I found this creator on Instagram who has just the most beautiful low waist clothing brand. Her Instagram is Rosablue, her name's Penelope. I'll make sure that I link all of her stuff in the description down below. But she makes the most beautiful low waist clothes and crafts. And I just love all the things that she makes, especially her skirts. So I want to make a skirt similar to the ones that she makes. Especially love this one here, just absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to do a gathered skirt, an elasticated waistband. A lot of her skirts have patch pockets. I really like the skirts that have like a full vertical cut of fabric. You know, it's not so much blocks as it is like almost stripes of fabric. So I'm going to try and use the longer pieces of this fabric here. This is leftover fabric from the 1940s top that I made. This is fabric that actually used to be the curtains in my husband's childhood bedroom. This is some leftover blue seersucker fabric from a failed project from when I first got into sewing clothes. And this, I think, will tie them all together nicely. This is a valance style curtain, so maybe, I don't know that I'll use the whole thing, but maybe a little bit. I also have this piece. These go together. So I'll use a little bit of this, I think. I'm not sure if I'll work the ruffle in or not. That'll be a work in progress. Some other contenders to be worked into this skirt. I have this blue gingham that I made a table runner out of, and then I have some purple gingham. I'm not quite sure where I got this or what I made with it. Anyway, this is what I'll be working with, so I need to figure out which pieces of the duvet fabric I'm going to use. I'm looking at all my pieces to find my longest sections of fabric. And then I'm measuring from the smallest part of my waist to my desired length. So the width of my skirt piece we're going to figure out later. But to figure out how long to cut each piece, we are going to take my desired length minus 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters, and that's to take into account the waistband, plus 3¼ inches or about 8 centimeters for the seam allowance and hemming. So my desired length is 33 inches, minus 1 equals 32 inches, plus 3.25 equals 35¼ inches. So that's the length that I'm going to measure all of my strips to. So I cut out all my scrap fabrics to my desired length. And then later on, I cut those wider strips down into more narrow strips of various sizes. Some are as narrow as 2.5 inches, some as wide as 7. And I figured out that some of the fabrics that I wanted to use were not long enough to use in this project without piecing them together. But now that I have all my strips cut out, I do have to do some math. I'm sorry, as I like to say, math is hard, but I need to make sure that I have enough strips cut, or alternatively, I don't have too many strips, to make sure, you know, that the width of my skirt, once it's all pieced together, is appropriate. If you don't want to watch the math part of this, I'll link down in the description what time to skip forward to, so you can just blow by this math chunk. I'll give you a couple seconds while you skip ahead. Alright, I think that was enough time. Buckle up. Let's do some math. Okay, first off, I want this skirt to be quite full, and I want my total skirt width, once my strips are all sewn together, to be around twice my hip measurement. My hip measurement is 43 inches, so I'm looking somewhere in the 86 inch plus or minus a couple inches. We're ballparking it. we do have to take into account seam allowances. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter seam allowance. You can use whatever seam allowance you want. I'm using a 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter. If you want to use a different seam allowance, that's cool. Just when you're doing your math, make sure you're using your seam allowance. So first up, count how many pieces you have. I have 22. And then I'm gonna measure the width of each piece. I'm measuring to the nearest 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter. And then I'm adding all of these together. I got 99 for the total width. Here's where we have to take the seam allowance into consideration. Each one of these strips is going to be sewn on both sides at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that's a 1/4 inch times 2, because there's 2 sides to each strip. That equals 1/2 inch. I have 22 strips times 1/2 inch equals 11 inches. So I'm going to lose 11 inches total once I sew everything together because of my seam allowance. So 99 minus 11 is 88. I only needed 86 inches. I'm only off by 2 inches, so I'm gonna fly with it. If I was short more than 5 inches, I would cut an extra strip or 2 of another fabric. If it was more than 5 inches, I would probably eliminate one of the strips or more from my pile, but 2 inches, that's close enough. Now I'm gonna put all my strips down on the table and lay them out how I want them to be sewn together. I don't think my table's gonna be big enough, so I'm gonna move all of this to the floor. Give Ben some chin scratches. And then I'm laying all of my strips out to my desired pattern. Once I get my desired layout, I stack all my pieces on top of each other in order. Now I'm going to serge all my strips together. I start by placing my first 2 strips right sides together and serge at a 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter seam allowance. Then I open them up and I take my next strip and place it right sides together like so, and serge that down. And then I go in with another strip right sides together, matching the long edges of the previous strip I sewed to the new strip that I'm sewing on, and serge all the way down, and I just repeat this process over and over until they are all sewn together. And then I'm going to press all my seams in the same direction, except for the white eyelet fabric. I'm pressing those seams out and away so you can't see the seams through the sheer fabric. So now I have all of these sewn together and pressed, and I have my long piece, but now we have to make it a tube. So just with right sides together, I'm gonna take the one end and the other end and do one final row of serging. Okay, so I did that really quickly, and now we have a tube. Can you see? Can you tell it's a tube? There, maybe. Yeah. I decided to add a lining to my skirt because you can see right through the white eyelet fabric, and I don't want anyone to see my undies through the little holes. So for modesty's sake, I'm cutting this white cotton sheet down into a rectangle about 6 inches shorter than my main skirt piece and 1.5 times my hip measurement, plus a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm just folding this in half and serging the edges together to form a tube. New day, and I'm gonna work on the waistband. I lined up a couple of my fabrics that I have up to the skirt, and I decided on this one here to make my waistband. So let's do that. I'm cutting 2 rectangles for the waistband. It's gonna be my hip measurement times 1.5 plus 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters for seam allowance, divided by 2, so the length will be 32.75 inches for me. And then the short edge is going to be 4 inches, or about 10 centimeters. Right sides together, pin and sew the short ends of the rectangles at 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter seam allowance to form a circle. Press open the seams, and then wrong sides together, we're just pressing over one side of the waistband up 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter all the way around. Then wrong sides together, fold the waistband in half and press all the way around. Next, we will gather the main skirt to sew to the lining. Set your machine's stitch length to its longest setting and sew 2 rows of gathering stitches all the way around the top edge of the main skirt. Don't backstitch at the beginning and end of each row, and don't accidentally intersect the rows or the fabric won't gather. Gather the main skirt until it's the same size as the lining. And then insert the lining into the main skirt so wrong sides are touching. Pin the main skirt to the lining. And baste together. The lining and the main skirt are now, they are one piece. We have to put the waistband on. Next, open the waistband and with right sides together, pin the raw edge of the waistband to the raw edge of the skirt all the way around. Then sew the waistband to the skirt at 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter seam allowance. The waistband is sewn to the skirt, just the one part of it is sewn on. So I will pick all of this up tomorrow because I have run out of time to finish this today. So I will see you tomorrow. Another new day. Let's wrap this project up. Press the waistband away from the skirt while also giving the gathers a nice press and being careful not to accidentally iron away the middle fold that we created earlier. I accidentally did and had to repress the center fold again. Next, fold the waistband over, and it should overlap the line of previous stitching by about 1/4 inch. Pin in place all the way around, pressing the fold as needed. Then sew the waistband in place close to the edge, leaving an opening about 1.5 inches to thread elastic through later. I'm taking 1 inch non-roll elastic and wrapping it around my waist, making sure it's tight enough that it won't be weighed down by the skirt, but stretches enough that it will still fit over my hips. Cut the elastic, and then I'm using a marker to put a dot on each end of the elastic. Using a safety pin, I'm threading the elastic through the opening of the waistband. And if the elastic didn't roll inside the casing, both marker dots should be facing in the same direction. If they are facing in opposite directions, then somewhere in the casing the elastic got twisted. Mine are facing the same way, so I'm going to overlap the elastic and pin in place. Then using a zigzag stitch, I'm sewing back and forth several times over the overlapping elastic to secure in place. Trim the threads and then tuck the elastic into the waistband. Set the machine back to a straight stitch and sew the casing closed. Next, hem the bottom of the main skirt and the lining. I'm folding the main skirt up twice at 1.5 inches or about 4 centimeters. Pin and then sew close to the hem edge. You won't see me doing the lining because I kept the original hem from the sheet. If I was going to hem the lining, however, I would fold up 1 inch twice and sew in place. Now I'm just taking a few minutes to pick out the exposed gathering stitches. I had a lot of them. Skirt is done, other than pockets. So what I need to do is figure out where I want the front and the back of the skirt. So I'm just gonna like turn it around my waist until I figure out where, like what the front piece is gonna be. So then I can sew my pockets onto the sides. Like, I don't think that the plaid should be in the front. I kind of like this. Like this white stripe will be my center. Let me get something, hang on. I'm just gonna take a pin here and I'm gonna just put it on the stripe right there. So this will be my front center. Cute. Okay, pockets. I'm gonna go in and do my pockets so they match my waistband. So I'm just gonna use what's left here. I have 2 rectangles cut out. They are actually almost square, 9.5 inches or about 24 centimeters by 9.25 inches or about 23.5 centimeters. Wrong sides together, I'm pressing down 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter, and then about 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters. Then sewing in place close to the edge. Next, fold the sides in about 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter twice, and then the bottom 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter twice. Next, I grab the front and the back of the skirt and move them so they are now at the sides. In the middle of the skirt, measure down 7 inches or about 18 centimeters. Center and pin the pocket to the side of the main skirt only. Be careful not to accidentally pin the pocket to the lining as well. And if you need to clip a wedge from the folds so the corners stay tucked in better, you can do that like this. Once pinned down, sew the sides and the bottom of the pocket close to the edge. And here we go, finished skirt. What do you guys think? Well, do I love it? Yes, I do. Usually this is the point in the video where I tell you that I love what I made, but then I proceed to tell you all the things that I would have done differently. I have literally 0 critiques for this project. It turned out beautifully, and it is quite literally exactly what I was hoping that I would make. Thank you, Rosablue, for the inspiration for this skirt. Please be sure to go check her out. I will link her Instagram, her Etsy, her website, etc. in the description box. If you want to see the other projects that I've made with my duvet fabric, I'll be sure to also link those in the description box below for you. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you next time. Bye!